Mr. Leiweke, could you please state and spell your name for the record?
It's Timothy Leiweke, Leiweke.
And it's Leiweke. I'm going to do my best on that. Thank you. And Mr. Leiweke, what is your current employment?
I'm the president of AEG.
And when you say AEG, are you referring to AEG Inc.?
AEG Inc.
Okay. And what's the official name of AEG Inc., if you know?
I think it's AEG Inc.
Okay. And are you also the CEO, or is your title just the president?
CEO as well.
Are you the highest ranking official at AEG Inc.?
Yes.
So there's no executive at AEG Inc. who's higher ranking than you, correct?
Not as a day-to-day employee.
Is there a co-CEO?
No.
Is there a co-president?
No.
So you're the only president and the only CEO of AEG Inc., correct?
Yes.
Let's talk about AEG Live LLC. What is AEG Live LLC?
I'm not a lawyer, but I believe AEG Live LLC is AEG Live, a limited liability company.
What state is it incorporated in?
I'm not sure.
What is your role in regard to AEG Live LLC?
I'm not involved in the day-to-day operation of AEG Live LLC.
Are you involved in the company at all?
I don't remember exactly what position I may hold at AEG Live LLC.
You don't remember?
We have 130 different companies, and I quite frankly don't know what the makeup of the board or of the structure of each of those companies is off the top of my head. I'm not the lawyer.
And how many divisions does AEG Inc. have?
How many divisions or different companies?
Divisions.
I'm not, I'd be guessing, but I believe it's 7 or 8.
Sir, I'm going to hand you Exhibit 1. Oh, sorry. Sir, Exhibit 1 is a California Secretary of State Statement of Information for a Limited Liability Company. Do you see that?
Yes.
And I want to direct your attention down to the middle of the page. Well, first of all, do you see your name on this document?
I do.
And under what section is your name listed?
Under Section 7.
And what is the title of that area?
It says name, address, city, and state, and zip code.
Well, what's above that, where it says what you're supposed to insert in that section?
Name and complete address of any manager or managers, or if none have been appointed or elected, provide the name and address of each member. Attach additional pages if necessary.
And then the first name entered in that section is your name, Tim Leiweke, correct?
Yes.
Now, does that refresh your recollection that you're either a manager or a member of AEG Live LLC?
I'm not a manager.
So are you a member?
I don't know what member would mean, so I'm not sure of the answer of that.
How many members does AEG Live LLC have?
I don't know.
There's been some testimony in this case from Mr. Webking that AEG Live LLC is a single member LLC and the sole member is AEG Inc. Do you know if that's correct?
No, I don't.
So as you sit here today, being the president and CEO of AEG Inc., you don't know anything about the corporate makeup of AEG Live LLC?
I'm not the lawyer, nor do I ultimately set up these corporations. Our legal folks do.
Do you believe that AEG Live LLC is separate from AEG Inc.?
I'm not sure what you mean by separate.
Aren't they part of the same company? That's my question. Are they part of the same company? AEG Live LLC and AEG Inc.?
No.
How do you know that? You're not the lawyer.
Because, one, we're physically not set up together, so the offices aren't even together. And two, we don't run that company day to day.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I believe you asked me, is it part of AEG Inc.? And AEG Inc. is not headquartered with AEG Live, nor do I run AEG Live.
And based on your non-legal understanding, that means that they're different companies?
Again, I'm not the lawyer.
And Randy Phillips reports to you, correct?
Randy Phillips reports to Ted Fickery, Dan Beckerman, and myself.
And the three of you are the board of AEG Inc., correct?
I don't know that for a fact.
You don't know if you're on the board of AEG Inc.?
You asked me if those three are the board of AEG Live or
Inc.
AEG Inc. And I do not believe that is the board of AEG Inc.
Okay, why is it that Randy Phillips reports to those three people that you just mentioned?
Those three people ultimately run AEG Inc.
And that's who Randy Phillips reports to?
Yes.
And those three people could terminate Randy Phillips if they so desired, correct?
No.
Why not?
Randy Phillips has a contract.
Are you currently the governor of the Los Angeles Kings?
As previously stated, yes.
Okay. And what is the role of the governor of the LA Kings?
To represent the Kings within the NHL Board of Governors.
And do you have any management role over the Kings?
I have no day-to-day management of the Kings.
Sir, are you aware that the Kings have a team physician?
I would assume we do.
And do you know who employs the Kings team physician?
I would assume it would be Dean Lombardi. I don't know who hired him or who he reports to, and quite frankly, I couldn't name our physicians here.
Who is Dean Lombardi?
Dean Lombardi is the president and general manager of the Kings.
Okay, so you assumed that the doctor, the LA Kings team doctor, is employed by the president of the Kings.
I'm not sure who hired the doctor.
Well, you assumed it, and then your lawyer said something, and you said...
I'm not sure.
I need one at a time, please.
I'm not sure who hires the team doctors at the Kings.
Who would know that?
I don't know for a fact who hires them.
So you've never heard of Dr. Ronald Kvitny, Kvitne?
I know Dr. Kvitny.
How do you know Dr. Kvitny?
He did my Achilles heel.
Okay, I don't want to get into your personal medical thing.
Thank you.
Okay, but did you get to know Dr. Kvitny? How do you say it?
Kvitny.
Did you get to know Dr. Kvitny through the LA Kings?
I'm not sure how I met Dr. Kvitny originally.
Are you aware that Dr. Kvitny is the LA Kings team doctor?
I'm not sure Dr. Kvitny is the team doctor.
Sir, I'm going to hand you Exhibit 4.
Thank you.
And sir, if you'll look at the top, this is printed from the LA Kings website. It's the LA Kings staff directory, printed 1/22/13. Do you see your name on this staff directory, sir?
I see my name listed as governor.
Okay. And then I see also that Dan Beckerman is the chief financial officer of the LA Kings. Is that correct?
No.
No. Who is the chief financial officer of the LA Kings?
It is not Dan Beckerman.
Do you know who it is?
I'm not exactly 100% certain that we have that title.
Do you know why that's listed on the staff directory of the LA Kings?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And it lists Philip Anschutz as an owner. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is that correct?
He is.
Is that a yes?
He is one of the owners.
Okay. And sir, if you scroll down to, there's a section that says medical. Do you see that? It's right under training staff equipment.
All the way down?
Yeah, it's about halfway down the page, a little more than halfway down.
Yes.
And then it says team physician, and slide over and it says Dr. Ronald Kvitny, correct?
Yes.
And you know Dr. Kvitny personally, correct?
I know Dr. Kvitny.
Okay. And then it says team internist, Dr. Michael Melman. Do you know Dr. Michael Melman?
Yes.
How do you know Dr. Michael Melman?
I see him occasionally at Kings games.
So are you aware that he's a doctor for the Kings?
I'm not sure what his exact position is with the Kings.
Do you know who employs him?
No.
And then there's a team dentist. I guess hockey players need dentists, right? Do you see that?
Dr. Jeffrey Hoy?
Do you know Dr. Hoy?
No.
Okay. And then there's a team ophthalmologist, Dr. Howard Laserson. Do you know Dr. Howard Laserson?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
So, sir, do you know who employs any of those 4 doctors?
I don't know who hires them.
Do those doctors work for the team, or do they work for their patients?
I'm not sure.
Do you, setting this Exhibit 6 aside, just in general, do you have any understanding about the formation of AEG Live LLC?
I'm not the lawyer, and I didn't create AEG Live LLC.
Sir, I'm going to hand you Exhibit 9. Have you read that, sir?
Yes.
Do you recall receiving this email from Mr. Randy Phillips?
No.
And so this is dated March 5th, 2009. Mr. Phillips wrote to you, according to this exhibit, MJ is locked in his room, drunk and despondent. Do you see that? The bottom of the page?
I read it.
Okay. Do you know who he was referring to with MJ?
I don't remember this email.
Can you make an estimation about who he may have been referring to with MJ?
I can only assume, but I don't know. I don't remember this email.
Were the plans in the works for a tour in 2009 called This Is It with Michael Jackson?
There was a plan for concerts at the O2, if I'm not mistaken.
And the artist was Michael Jackson.
Yes.
And have you ever heard of Michael Jackson referred to as MJ?
Yes.
And do you recall that there was a press conference around March announcing the tour in London?
Yes.
And based on that information, when you looked at Exhibit 9 just now, were you able to place that in the context of that press conference in London?
I don't remember receiving this email, but I do remember the press conference.
And you responded to Mr. Phillips, "Are you kidding me?" Do you see that?
I see it.
Do you recall what you meant by that?
I don't remember this email.
And then Randy Phillips responded to you, "I screamed at him so loud, the walls are shaking. Tomei and I have dressed him and they are finishing his hair, and then we are rushing to the O2. This is the scariest thing I have ever seen. He is an emotionally paralyzed mess, riddled with self-loathing and doubt now that it is showtime. He is scared to death. Right now, I just want to get through this press conference." Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And then according to this evidence, you responded, "Call me, please."
I agree that it says that.
Do you know why you asked Mr. Phillips to call you, please?
I don't remember the email.
Separate and apart from the email, do you remember asking Mr. Phillips to call you when he informed you that Michael was an emotionally paralyzed mess at the press conference?
No.
Do you remember the concept of Michael being an emotionally paralyzed mess at the press conference?
I got a call from Randy Phillips about the press conference.
Okay. Do you know if that call you got from Randy Phillips was in response to your email, "Call me, please"?
I don't remember the email.
So you don't know if his call was in response to your email to him?
I don't remember the email.
Does not remembering the email mean it doesn't exist?
No, it just simply means on your question on whether or not he called me based on the email, I can't answer that if I don't remember the email.
Well, did he say to
And
you?
I've by the way, I've said that, what now, 5 times? Is that good enough? Okay, just making sure, since you just asked me the same question 5 times.
So when Mr. Phillips called you, did he say, "I'm calling you because you just told me to call you from the email"?
No,
Okay. So what did Mr. Phillips say when he called you?
I don't remember the exact conversation. Specifically, I just remember in general.
And in general, what do you remember?
Michael had a hangover, and they were late getting to the press conference, and Randy was wound up.
Anything else you remember from that conversation?
A subsequent conversation that the press conference was held, and it was fine, and everyone had calmed down.
Okay. Now, do you know why it was that Mr. Phillips was contacting you about this incident at the press conference?
I'm sorry, I still don't remember the email.
Do you know why it was that Mr. Phillips called you about this incident at the press conference?
He was informing me of the fact the press conference was going to be delayed.
And why was he giving you that information?
I don't know.
Did you say to him, Randy, why are you telling me about this?
Actually, I was in the middle of an important meeting and told him to call me when the press conference was held and fill me in.
Well, I mean, is it your understanding that he was keeping you informed of this because you're one of his direct reports?
No, I don't know what Randy was thinking about when he called me.
Well, why didn't Randy call me about this?
I'm assuming because he didn't know you.
Well, you don't know that, right?
Nope.
Do you recall a board meeting on May 26, 2009 regarding the budget costs for the This Is It tour?
Not specifically.
Do you know if you were there?
I don't remember specifically.
Do you recall that the production costs for the This Is It tour had been out of control?
I don't remember that specific term.
They were too high, correct?
I don't remember having a specific conversation towards that at that specific board meeting. I don't remember the specific board meeting.
Do you remember a board meeting of AEG Inc. about the production costs for the This Is It tour?
Not specifically.
Do you remember it in general?
No.
Was there ever a board meeting where the production costs for the This Is It tour were discussed?
We've had hundreds of board meetings.
Have you ever discussed the production costs for the This Is It tour?
At a board meeting?
Anywhere?
At any time?
At any time?
Yes.
With who?
Randy Phillips.
Okay. When was that?
I don't remember the exact dates.
What was discussed?
I don't remember the exact conversations.
Did you say these production costs are really low? Great job, Randy?
I don't remember that exact conversation.
Do you think you said the opposite of that?
I don't remember the specific conversation.
Does that mean you don't remember anything?
In life?
No, with regard to talking to Randy Phillips about the production costs of the This Is It tour.
I knew Randy had production cost issues.
And could you explain what you mean by that?
I didn't know the specifics, but the budget they allocated was not the budget that Randy and his team were ultimately going to spend.
And do you know on the date Michael Jackson died what the production costs were for the This Is It tour?
Not specifically.
Do you have an estimate?
No.
Was it $1 million?
I believe it was higher than that.
Was it $30 million?
I don't remember the exact number.
Was it closer to 30 or closer to 1?
I'd only be speculating.
Okay, I don't want you to speculate.
Sir, isn't it true that Philip Anschutz himself flew into town for a board meeting where the production costs of the This Is It tour was discussed?
I don't remember a specific board meeting where that was the sole conversation.
Are minutes kept at your board meetings?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Is there a secretary of the company?
I wouldn't know the legal structure specifically.
Have you ever been talking to somebody at a board meeting and he says, hey, I'm the secretary?
No.
So you don't know if there's a secretary of your company?
I don't know the legal structure of our officers for the company.
Do you know a man named Philip Anschutz?
I do.
And what is Mr. Anschutz's role in AEG Inc.?
I'm not sure of his, what was your term you used?
What is his role at AEG Inc.?
I'm not sure of his legal structure.
Does he own it?
Mr. Anschutz is the investor in AEG Inc.
Sir, have you ever met a man named Dr. Tomei Tomei?
Yes.
And under what circumstances did you meet Dr. Tomei Tomei?
I met him once or twice in passing.
And did you have any meeting with him in regard to Michael Jackson?
None that I remember.
And do you recall the circumstances under which you met Dr. Tomei in passing?
I met him through Randy Phillips.
And do you recall why? Did Randy Phillips introduce him to you?
I'm not sure if Randy specifically introduced him to me.
Did you know Dr. Tomei before you met him at the time with Randy Phillips?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Did you know him perhaps through Colony Capital?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Do you have an understanding of who Dr. Tomei was in regard to Michael Jackson?
Just as he was introduced to me through Randy Phillips.
Did you think that your company was taking a risk by doing the This Is It tour with Michael Jackson?
I'm not sure what you mean by risk.
You've never heard the term risk before?
Yes.
What's your understanding of what risk means?
Risk means whether or not the idea is a good one and whether or not it is a good investment for our company.
And do you recall ever having any feelings one way or the other with regard to the risk of doing business with Michael Jackson for the This Is It tour?
I remember that it was an expensive commitment he was asking us to make. Yes.
And was any part of the calculation of the risk in your mind Michael Jackson's health?
Yes.
And explain that, please.
We wanted to make sure that he was healthy.
And did you do anything to make sure he was healthy?
I believe our folks had a medical for the purpose of Michael Jackson and his health.
And do you know when that medical took place?
I don't.
Do you know who the doctor was?
I do not.
Do you know if it took place in New York?
I don't.
Do you know if it was LA?
I don't.
Do you know who would know that?
I don't know specifically who would know that.
Have you ever referred to Mr. Anschutz as a paranoid Scrooge?
I don't remember any specific conversations.
Exhibit 14.
Read it?
Okay, sir. This appears to be an email from you to Randy Phillips on March 13th, 2009, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall in general there was a concern that some of the tickets for the O2 show were being scalped?
I remember a phone call questioning whether or not tickets were being scalped.
And do you remember telling Mr. Anschutz that you trusted the people at AAG Live, so you didn't believe they were scalping tickets?
I don't remember the specific conversation.
Was the phone call with Mr. Anschutz?
Yes.
And why did you not believe the AAG Live folks were involved in any scalping?
There has never been a history of anyone at AAG Live scalping tickets.
And then,
But was Mr. Anschutz concerned it was the AAG Live people who were involved?
I don't remember the specific conversation.
I'm sure you were just being joking by calling him a paranoid Scrooge in this email.
Mr. Anschutz is very tight.
is he paranoid?
I don't remember the specific email, but I remember he was questioning if there were tickets being scalped by anyone at AAG Live.
Do you know if Mr. Anschutz has any concerns over the business ethics of Mr. Phillips?
None that I'm specifically aware of.
What about, same question with regard to Mr. Gongaware?
None that I'm specifically aware of.
For both questions, what about that you're generally aware of?
Mr. Anschutz always wants to make sure that we're running a tight ship.
Do you trust Randy Phillips?
Yes.
I'm handing you Exhibit 16. Sir, have you had a chance to read this email, Exhibit 16?
I have.
And the first email in the chain is from Paul Gongaware, sent Friday, September 16th, 2008, to Randy Phillips and yourself and John Meglin, correct?
Yes.
And if you scroll down to the the fourth paragraph of that email by Mr. Gongaware, the last sentence, Mr. Gongware wrote, maybe gross is a better number to throw around if we need to use numbers with Mikey listening. Do you see that?
I see that.
Do you understand that what Mr. Gongware was saying was that they're going to tell Michael the gross number because it seemed a lot bigger than what Michael really would have earned, which would have been the net?
That would only be speculating.
Well, you got this email, right?
I'm reading it.
Okay. So this email that we're talking about from Paul Gongware to you and Mr. Phillips, CC John Meglin, the subject was MJ First Draft Worldwide Tour Projection. Do you see that subject line?
Yes.
Now, was the Michael Jackson World Tour, was that an important project to AEG Live?
I believe you should ask AEG Live that.
And you have nothing to do with AEG Live, correct?
I don't run AEG Live.
Okay. You do not run AEG Live?
Not day to day.
And but you were one of two people that this email with the subject line MJ First Draft Worldwide Tour Projection were sent to, correct?
No. There's 3 people there.
Well, one person was CC'd.
Yes.
Okay. But in the two line, it was Randy Phillips and Tim Leiweke, correct?
Yes.
And so, is it your testimony here today that you never read this email until today?
No.
So-
I don't remember the specific email.
When you read it here today, do you understand what Mr. Gongware was talking about?
On the email as a whole,
Yes, sir.
in general, he clearly is trying to lay out a deal for Randy to consider as it relates to the shows at the O2.
And to narrow it down, do you understand what he was talking about telling Michael Jackson the gross number instead of the net number?
I don't know what Paul is specifically referring to.
Okay, and so then if we go forward, it looks like Randy Phillips responded to Paul Gongware and you, and now Randy Phillips brought in as CC's John Meglin, Mr. Anschutz. Do you see that? And then let's look what Mr. Phillips wrote to Paul Gongware and you, and then with CC's. Mr. Phillips writes, good analysis. We should talk gross numbers with MJ and net with Dr. Tomei. Do you see that?
Yes, I read that.
Okay. Do you have an understanding of what Randy Phillips meant by saying that?
Not specifically.
Do you have a general understanding of what he meant?
No.
Do you think what he meant was we should tell the artist the gross number so he thinks he's going to make more money?
No. I did not write this email. Mr. Phillips did. I'm not sure Randy thinks this way.
He wrote we should talk gross numbers with MJ.
I'm not sure what Randy's referring to there.
Then let's go up to the top to the email that you wrote. You responded, I'm sorry. Randy Phillips wrote to you, I apologize, on Friday, September 26, 2008. Randy Phillips wrote, Phil reached out for Barrick this morning, who is in Africa with bad cell reception. Do you know who Barrick is?
I'm assuming that's Tom Barrick.
Are you friends with Mr. Barrick?
I'm not friends with Mr. Barrick, but I know Mr. Barrick.
Have you done business with Mr. Barrick?
I haven't personally.
And Phil, was Mr. Phillips referring to Phil Anschutz?
I assume, but I don't know for a fact.
Do you recall, separate and apart from this email, do you recall Mr. Anschutz reaching out to Mr. Barrick in regard to Michael Jackson?
Not specifically.
What about generally?
Not generally.
Just not at all?
Well, again, this is not from me. It's from Randy.
I know, that's why I said separate and apart from this email. Do you recall Mr. Anschutz reaching out to Mr. Barrick?
So again, this email is not from me, nor was I on that phone call they're referring to.
Okay. Why don't we slide that email over to the side?
Sure.
And let me ask you, do you recall Mr. Anschutz ever reaching out to Mr. Barrick in regard to Michael Jackson?
I recall there was a conversation between Mr. Anschutz and Mr. Barrick, but I was not privy to that conversation, nor was I on it.
How did you learn about that conversation?
I don't remember exactly how I was told of that conversation.
Did Mr. Anschutz tell you about it?
I don't remember specifically.
Do you know why that conversation occurred?
I wasn't on the conversation.
Do you know if Colony Capital had any role in the This Is It tour?
None that I'm aware of.
Do you know if any discussions were ever had between Colony Capital personnel and AEG or AEG Live personnel regarding aspects of the This Is It tour?
None that I had.
Do you know who did have them?
No.
Do you have could you make an estimate of which personnel at the companies would have had those conversations? If there were there? You don't
I'm
know.
only referring to this email that is not from me on a conversation I was not on.
And I'm not even referring to the email anymore. I'm referring just to,
I was not involved in any direct conversations.
do you know who was?
If anyone.
Okay. Do you know who Richard Nanula is?
I know Richard Nanula.
How do you know Richard Nanula?
He is involved with Colony Capital.
Do you know if he was involved in any conversations with any AEG or AEG Live personnel?
None that I'm aware of.
Mr. Leiweke, did you ever meet in person with Michael Jackson?
Yes.
How many times?
4 or 5.
And do you recall when the first time was?
He called us to a meeting in Las Vegas. I don't remember the date or the time.
And I'm assuming that first time would have been before he had signed on with AEG for the tour. With the AEG entity, with an AEG entity for the tour.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking prior. This is somewhere before 2009, most likely.
Yes.
Do you recall who was at that meeting in Las Vegas?
There were probably 20 people with Michael. And we had Randy Phillips, Paul Gongaware, and I don't remember the others.
Okay, so from your side, it was Randy, Paul Gongaware, and yourself, and maybe some others.
I believe there were some others, but I don't remember.
Let me ask another way. Who was the point person from your side with regard to that meeting?
I don't remember exactly who set it up.
Well, in other words, when you stated that Michael Jackson called us, assuming you meant the AEG entities, correct?
It was AG Live.
So do you know who it was at AEG Live then who was sort of taking charge of dealing with this call from Michael Jackson?
Not specifically.
Either Randy or Paul?
I don't remember specifically.
And what was discussed at that meeting?
Michael wanted a tour.
And did you speak at that meeting?
No.
Who spoke on behalf of AEG or AEG Live?
Mostly Randy and Paul.
At that point in time, were you interested in getting involved with the tour with Michael Jackson?
AG Live was interested.
And do you know how long that meeting was approximately?
I don't remember specifically.
Was it a hotel?
No.
Michael's house?
I don't think it was his house. I don't remember where we met, but it wasn't his house.
And after that meeting, was a decision made by AEG Live that a tour was going to go forward?
No.
What about the second meeting you had with Michael Jackson?
It was at Ron Burkle's guest house.
And approximately when in time?
I don't remember the exact time or date.
And who is Ron Burkle?
An acquaintance Michael had.
And what city was that in?
Los Angeles.
And was anyone else from AEG or AEG Live there?
I remember Jesse Jackson was there. I don't remember if anyone else was there.
Jesse Jackson, the famous Jesse Jackson?
Yes.
And so this meeting was Michael Jackson, Jesse Jackson. Was Ron Burkle there?
No.
So Michael Jackson, Jesse Jackson, and yourself?
Randy might have been there, but I don't remember.
That's an interesting meeting.
It was.
And what was the subject discussed at that meeting?
There really wasn't one. We prayed a lot.
What about the third time you met Michael Jackson?
It was in Las Vegas.
And where in Las Vegas?
I don't remember the exact location.
And who was there?
Michael and his son. The littlest one.
Okay.
Is that
Blanket.
Blanket?
Okay.
Thank you. And Randy,
Phillips.
yes. Paul Gongaware. And Phil,
Phil, Mr. Anschutz.
Mr. Anschutz.
And do you have an approximate time?
There might have been others. I don't remember exactly.
Others on whose side? The AEG side or the Jackson side?
There might have been others on the live side that I don't remember.
But in terms of the Michael Jackson side, it was just Michael and Blanket?
I think he had security.
Did he have a manager there?
Not that I remember.
So Tomei was not there.
I don't remember anyone.
Else. And what was the purpose of that meeting?
Michael asked to meet Mr. Anschutz to talk about films.
And did you have the impression that Michael was interested in getting into films?
Yes.
What did Mr. Jackson say about his interest in getting into films?
He had a specific film idea in mind.
And what was that?
I don't recall the details.
Do you recall if he was interested in doing a film about the Thriller music video?
I don't remember the concept.
Have you seen? I'm sure. Have you seen the handwritten notes of Michael Jackson that the plaintiffs have produced in this litigation?
No.
How long was this meeting in Las Vegas that we're talking about right now?
Not long, but I don't remember exact time.
Did you speak at this meeting?
Not that I remember.
Did Mr. Anschutz?
About the film business, briefly.
So what did Michael at that meeting say was his plan in the film business? You mentioned he had a specific film idea in mind. Did he have any other film plans?
No. None that I remember.
Did either AEG or AEG Live personnel present express any interest in doing any film work with Michael Jackson?
I don't recall that was brought up.
Do you know if Mr. Phillips or Mr. Gongaware ever used the potential of doing films to entice Michael into agreeing to do the AEG Live This Is It tour?
I was never involved in any of those negotiations.
So you don't know one way or the other?
No.
When was the fourth meeting you had with Michael Jackson?
It wasn't a meeting. I just saw him at the tryouts for the dancers for a grand total of 30 seconds, maybe.
Okay. And where was that?
The Nokia Theater.
Did you have any discussions with him?
No.
And you mentioned a world tour.
I don't remember anything more than that.
Was the O2 Arena discussed at that meeting?
Not that I remember.
Okay, so then let's skip ahead. The fourth time was you saw him at the Nokia Theater tryouts. What about the fifth time?
It was at Staples Center during rehearsals. in his dressing room.
And do you recall when that one was?
I don't remember the exact date.
Do you, was it in June of 2009?
It was when he was rehearsing at Staples Center, so it was during that period of time. I don't remember the exact date. I apologize.
It's okay. Did you speak to Michael in his dressing room?
Said hello.
And is that the extent of it?
Ken Ehrlich was talking to him about a Halloween special Michael wanted to do.
And what do you know about that Halloween special?
Not much. That was Ken's area, so I stayed out of it.
Now, sir, have you ever met Dr. Conrad Murray?
No.
Have you ever spoken to Dr. Conrad Murray on the phone?
No.
Have you ever communicated with him electronically?
No.
Have you ever communicated with him in any way?
No.
Let me ask, just to lay a foundation here. Are you aware that a man named Dr. Conrad Murray exists?
Well, I am now.
And you understand that he's currently in jail?
Yes.
When did you first learn about the existence of Dr. Conrad Murray?
I don't remember the first time I heard about Conrad Murray.
Was it before or after you learned about the death of Michael Jackson?
I don't remember specifically when the first time I heard his name.
Do you know who it was who mentioned his name to you for the first time?
No. I don't remember.
When you first learned of the existence of Dr. Conrad Murray, who did you understand that he was?
I don't remember when I first heard about Conrad Murray or the context of a conversation.
Do you have an understanding now of who Dr. Conrad Murray is?
I know who he is now.
And do you have an understanding as to the role he played, if any, with the This Is It tour?
He was Michael's doctor.
Michael's doctor for the tour?
He was Michael's doctor.
Your understanding is Dr. Murray was Michael's general doctor?
My understanding is he was Michael Jackson's doctor. That's all I knew.
But do you have an understanding now that Dr. Murray appeared on pre-tour budgets created by AEG Live for the This Is It tour?
I never saw or heard of Dr. Murray in budgets or conversations.
But as you sit here today now, do you know that he is on the budgets, the pre-tour budgets for the This Is It tour?
No.
And you haven't seen those budgets?
I don't know, have you?
No.
Since you've given me the 5 times you've met with Michael Jackson, I'm going to take this as a no. Have you ever been to his house at Carrollwood?
I don't know where that is.
Okay. Have you ever been to the Neverland Ranch?
No.
Have you ever been to any home that has been Michael Jackson's?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And where was that?
Ron Burkle's guest house.
Sir, were you ever involved in assisting Randy Phillips help Michael Jackson find a nutritionist?
Not that I specifically recall concerning a nutritionist.
Or a trainer?
He asked us advice on I thought it was a massage therapist, but I don't remember specifically. I don't remember what he asked for specifically.
And do you recall making a recommendation of somebody?
I don't remember specifically.
Do you know who Pete Demers is?
Demers.
Pete Demers.
Yes.
He's a former trainer for the LA Kings.
Yes.
Do you recall if he recommended Pete Demers for Michael Jackson?
I don't remember the specific conversation.
to hand you Exhibit 18 and see if this refreshes your recollection.
Okay.
Sir, and who is Carla Garcia
Another assistant.
to you?
Yes.
And I'll see this email is dated June 18th, 2009, subject MJ. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then I see it says that the signature line, Carla Garcia, assistant to Timothy J. Leiweke, president and CEO, AEG, and then it has an 800 West Olympic Boulevard address.
Yes.
So which facility would that have been at least as of June 18th, 2009,
Our current offices.
at the LA Live?
Yes. No. At LA Live office building.
And your assistant wrote to you, Paul Gongaware is looking for a nutritionist / physical therapist for Michael Jackson. He said that you told Randy you may know of someone. Thoughts? ? Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And according to Exhibit 18, what did you respond to Ms. Garcia?
Well, again, I don't remember the specific email, but I do remember Carla asking me about Pete Tamiris. That's all I remember.
And do you know why Michael Jackson needed a nutritionist / physical therapist?
No. No.
Now, in any of your time with working for what is now AEG Inc., have you ever made the recommendation for another artist for a nutritionist / physical therapist?
I don't remember who the artist was, but they had a need for a doctor on their knee. And again, I don't remember the specifics.
And you recommended someone?
I believe I did.
And do you know who it was that you recommended?
I don't.
Was it a doctor at Curlin Job?
It could have been, but I don't remember specifically.
Was it Dr. Kvitny?
I don't remember specifically.
Is it a fair statement that it is unusual for you to make recommendations for health care for artists?
I don't make healthcare decisions for artists'
Recommendations.
recommendations.
Is that unusual for you to make healthcare recommendations for
I
artists?
think you're saying that he doesn't do it at all.
With the exception of that one suggestion I made, I've never done that to the best of my knowledge.
The one being Pete Tamiris?
No, the other one I was referring to
Okay.
above and beyond this.
Okay. Okay, so in addition to the Pete Tamiris one and the other one you're referring
Sorry,
to...
you said other artist.
Oh, I'm sorry. Artist, okay. Is it a fair statement it's unusual for you to make healthcare recommendations for artists?
I don't make recommendations except for the one I just told you about.
Well, so there's two total that you've ever done, right?
I do not remember the specific email. You asked me, was there another? I told you I thought there was a time someone asked about a knee doctor. I don't remember the specific artist nor the doctor.
Are you denying that you told Carla Garcia to pass along to Paul Gongaware the name of Pete Demers for Michael Jackson?
I'm denying that I remember the specific email.
Okay. But are you denying the
I
content
don't remember
of it?
the specific email.
Do you remember doing it?
I don't remember the specific email.
Does this email speak for itself?
I don't understand that question.
Well, I mean, do you think it's a fraudulent email?
I am going to repeat again. I apologize. I don't remember the specific email.
Now, this is if you look at the bait stamps, it's AEG, and I'll represent to you in this litigation. That means it was produced by AEG Inc. to us in this case. Okay.
I don't doubt that, but I don't know that for a fact.
Do you have any reason to believe that this email is not true?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. So let me ask it. So are you denying that you gave Pete Deemer's name to Carla Garcia so she could give it on to Paul Gongaware? Are you denying that?
I am telling you I don't remember the specific email or the specific conversation to the best of my knowledge.
But you're not denying it?
I am telling you I don't remember the specific email or the specific conversation.
I'm going to represent to you that Michael Jackson died on June 25th, 2009, okay? And I don't think council will disagree with that. Do you recall 6 days before Michael Jackson died, you wanting to have a meeting with Michael Jackson,
I don't recall that specific conversation,
to the best of your knowledge?
to the best of my knowledge.
Do you recall anything in general about that?
About what?
Wanting to have a meeting with Michael Jackson 6 days before he died.
I don't remember that specific conversation.
Do you remember when Michael Jackson died? I mean, not the date, you just remember the event?
Yes.
Do you remember shortly before that wanting to have a meeting with him,
I don't remember a specific conversation about that,
to the best of your knowledge?
to the best of my knowledge.
Do you remember a general conversation about that?
Not a specific conversation.
Do you remember a general conversation?
I don't remember a specific conversation.
I know, but my question is, do you remember a
I
general...
don't remember a conversation specifically on meeting with Michael Jackson directly.
Do you remember, in general, a specific conversation about the general topic about meeting with Michael
No,
Jackson?
I apologize.
Do you remember there being any trouble with Michael Jackson in the week prior to his death?
I don't remember specific time, and I don't remember specific trouble.
Sir, I'm going to hand you Exhibit 19.
Okay.
Sir, do you have a recollection, to the best of your knowledge, receiving this email chain?
No, not specifically.
And if you look on the first page, there's an email from you, Tim Leiweke, to Randy Phillips, sent Friday, June 19th, 2009, where it says, "Let's set up a time for you and I to meet with him. I want Kenny in the meeting as well." Do you see that?
I do read that.
And if you know, I saw you just read the context of this email chain, and is it a fair statement that generally what was going on here was that Kenny Ortega was expressing some concern about Michael Jackson's well-being?
I've never seen these emails between Randy and Kenny. And if you're asking me what I read into my email to Randy, I can only speculate.
Well, these emails between Randy and Kenny were forwarded to you.
I don't ever remember seeing any of the emails between Kenny Ortega and Randy Phillips. And as to my email to Randy, I can only speculate what I was saying to him.
Okay, would you speculate about it?
Randy may have asked me would I be willing to meet with Kenny and or Michael.
And in fact, you said, let's set up a time to do it, right?
I believe that's what that says.
Now, slide the email away so we don't get hung up on that. Did you ever have a meeting with Michael and Kenny Ortega?
No.
Do you recall trying to set up such a meeting?
Not specifically.
What about generally?
Not generally.
Do you know if a meeting was set to happen and then didn't happen?
Not,
At any time, or I mean specifically?
Specifically around the June 19th time frame, June 19th, 2000.
not to the best of my knowledge.
And with other artists, not Michael Jackson, have you ever emailed Randy Phillips and said, let's set up a meeting between the artist and me, Tim Leiweke? Have you ever done that before?
Not that I recall. Again, I apologize. I was unaware nor have I ever seen the emails between Kenny and Randy.
Right. But this is an email, I'm talking about an email that was sent by you.
I did not meet with Kenny Ortega and Michael Jackson, to the best of my knowledge.
We'll come back to that. Okay. Sir, based on the emails I'm showing you, is it refreshing your recollection that you were a little more involved with Michael Jackson and the This Is It tour than you thought you may have been?
No.
No. So let's look at the one. You were forwarded an email chain that is the subject is trouble at the front, according to this, correct? If you look at the top where it says to leiwekecom@aol.com, do you see
Yes.
that? Is leiwekecom@aol.com an email address you used as of June 20th, 2009?
I believe it was my home email address, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. So according to Exhibit 20, which is a document produced in this litigation by AEG Live, you were forwarded an email chain titled Trouble at the Front by Randy Phillips. And Randy Phillips wrote, "This guy is really starting to concern me. Read his email and my response. Dr. Murray and I are meeting with MJ at 4 p.m. today at the forum RP." Do you see that?
Or read his email. You don't know what you mean.
I see that, yes.
Assuming what Randy Phillips was saying was read his email and my response, did you, when you got this, read the email chain?
Again, these are the same emails that I looked at already, and I never was a party to, nor did I read the emails between Randy and Kenny.
Why is Kenny sending these to you? I'm sorry, why is Randy Phillips sending these to you?
I don't know. You should ask Randy.
Do you ever recall telling Dan Beckerman that there was big trouble going on with Michael Jackson at around June 20th, 2009?
I don't remember the specific conversation.
What about in general? Did you ever let Dan Beckerman know in general there was some trouble going on with Michael Jackson?
We were aware that, are we done?
We're finished with that one.
Thanks. We were aware that Randy and Kenny were having a meeting with Michael concerning the rehearsal schedules.
And were you aware that Dr. Murray was involved in that?
I was not aware specifically who was or was not in the meeting, as I was not there.
Sir, I'm going to hand you Exhibit 21.
Read it?
Okay, sir. According to Exhibit 21, which is a document produced in this litigation by AEG Inc., on Saturday, June 20th at 8:47, 2009, you sent an email to Dan Beckerman stating, "Trouble with MJ, big trouble, period." What were you referring to?
And again, it goes on beyond that, but does include those words.
I'll read beyond. You said, "Trouble with MJ, big trouble, period. What are you guys up to tonight, period."
I don't remember the specific email.
Okay, I'm not asking about the specific email.
Which question?
Does this email indicate to you that you knew as of June 20th, 2009, there was some trouble going on with Michael Jackson?
We were aware that he had missed several rehearsals.
And you thought he was having a mental breakdown, didn't you?
No,
You didn't?
no.
Then why did you write to Dan Beckerman at 4:15 p.m. that same day, he is having a mental breakdown?
I'm not sure. I'm not referring to Randy.
Oh, really?
I don't know specifically.
Was Mr. Phillips having a mental breakdown?
I don't know what I was referring to specifically, but it could have been to Randy.
And in the same breath, you invited Dan Beckerman to a Beastie Ball honoring Laura Wasserman, correct?
I don't remember the specific email.
To the best of your knowledge.
I don't remember the specific email.
Oh, not even to the best of your knowledge. You just don't remember this one at all.
I don't remember the specific email.
So, if you had to make an estimation
when you said he is having a mental breakdown, is it more likely you were referring to Randy Phillips or more likely you were referring to Michael Jackson?
I'd be speculating.
Do you know when Dan Beckerman wrote the phrase in his email in the middle of this page, is it, quote, pre-show nerves, end quote, bad, or, quote, get a straight jacket / call our insurance carrier, end quote, bad? Do you know what he was referring to?
I don't remember the specific email.
Wasn't he referring to how bad is Michael? Do we need to call our insurance carrier because the tour is going to be canceled?
I don't remember the specific email.
Is it obvious?
I'm not going to speculate what Dan was thinking or saying.
Mr. Leiweke, are you telling the jury that you truly don't know what this email means?
I'm telling you that you deposed Dan. You could ask Dan. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to give you specifically what he was thinking about. I'm not going to interpret for Dan Beckerman.